Jimmy K here, Metal Voice. Look at this. The Metal Voice shirts are now on sale. Just go to the video description to find out on how you can purchase one. Metal! Welcome to the Metal Voice. Today on the show, oh yes, legendary drummer Carmine Appice. What is going on?
Well, right now I am in California, and I'm getting ready to go to Florida to do a show called Cooking with Rock Stars, and it's you get to go to cook, your favorite meal
With rock stars.
and then you get to do an interview, and then you get to jam. So I'm doing it in the same episode as Pat Travers. So
Cool.
because me and Pat played together, over the years, and we did some albums together. We're gonna play together on this deal. So it's gonna be pretty fun, actually, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, there's just, with you, there's just too much to talk about. That's the problem. Vanilla Fudge, Cactus,
Yeah.
King Cobra, Blue Murder, Appice, Drum Wars with Jim Crean. It's just all over the map. So let's just start off with this. We'll go dig into your history a little bit, but let's talk about what's on the plate right now. Carmine Appice, Guitar Zeus.
Right. That's
So tell
my
me about
main thing right now. And this is something that was originally done, excuse me, was originally done in 1995 and 1997. Okay? And what happened was, I released it everywhere in the world except in America. Right? So, this was like 2005. I tried to release it in America. As soon as I got the deal, they released it, and the company went out of business. They're a European company, so that didn't do very good. So then I tried again with another company called Fuel. Fuel released it, and they released it as a double record because I did 2 records, and they didn't really do much with it either. So I let it go. And then I got the rights back from Fuel, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try and release it as a catalog item. And a friend of mine said, don't do that. He said, no, everything is going digital. You should get it released digitally and add some bonus tracks. So I said, yeah, I have some bonus tracks because I did Guitar Zeus 1, Guitar Zeus 2, and then Guitar Zeus Korea and Guitar Zeus Japan. So I had, a lot of tracks. I had like 32 tracks. And I found one track that I fixed. I put, it was never released, never even finished. There was a track called Mother Space, the first video. And I put Bumblefoot on that. I got it off a 24-track tape, which everything was recorded, 24-track. Yep. And I bounced it to digital, and I put Bumblefoot on it and mixed it to sound like the rest of the record. And I put some other songs that were never released, like a song called Nothing with John Nurum from Europe, which he plays his ass off on. And, and I put this whole package together and released it as Carmine Appice Guitar Zeus in America. And then I couldn't, because I was going to keep the digital rights, I couldn't get a label that would release it to sell CDs and vinyl. So I have a little label of my own that was running. So I released it on that. So now we have it on 32 tracks on the digital downloads, and we have 12 tracks on the CD and 8 tracks on a vinyl.
Wow.
And I'm getting to release it, the way I really wanted to release it. And I've been doing a lot of PR for it, and we just released last week the second video, which is called This Time Around, that has Ingrid Malmsteen on it and Doug Pinnick from King's X singing. And on the every basic track is me, Tony Franklin from Blue Murder, and Kelly Keeling, who also played with Blue Murder for a minute. And he's done other things, including Michael Schenker, Ingrid Malmsteen, a group called Baton Rouge, Blue Murder. So me and him is the majority of the songwriting. We do the majority of the songwriting. Tony comes in on a few songs, but I say that it sounds like Soundgarden meets Blue Murder meets the Beatles. A good description of it, and it has all these great guitar players playing solos, like Brian May, Yngwie Malmsteen, Slash, Bumblefoot, Ted Nugent, Dweezil Zappa, Zakk Wylde, and the list goes on, you know.
Tell me about Yngwie. I mean, is he as difficult to work with as people say he is?
Well, I mean, I only worked with him the one day and worked with him, you know, I got there the day before and went to his house and hung out at his house. And then the next day we went to the studio. And so we did like an exchange. I played on one of his tracks and he played on my track. And it was fun. I mean, he went in and just played his butt off. And he played a lot more bluesy than he normally played, you know. And he wanted to be on the track that Doug Pinnick sang because he really liked Doug Pinnick's voice, right? So I paired them off. The same as when I put Mick Mars on the track, he wanted to be on the track with Edgar Winter singing because he was an Edgar Winter fan. So I paired them off. It's pretty interesting stuff that went on to record this, you know.
What was Mick Mars like to record with?
It was fun. It was cool. And I tried to get people to play differently than they normally play. So, like Yngwie played a little more bluesy. Brian May, he played with a wah-wah pedal, which normally he doesn't. He sent me 2 solos, one with a wah-wah, one without a wah-wah. So I took the wah-wah because, you know, you never hear Brian May play with a wah-wah. Mick Mars, I said, do you play slide? He goes, yeah, I play slide. So why don't you play slide? You'll be the only one on the record that played slide. He said, okay, I'll play slide. So he played slide on the track, Under the Moon and Sun. Yeah. And, you know, we did it all analog and mixed the first album analog and mixed it analog at A&M Studios and digitally analog. Analog mastered it as well. And then the second album, we did it all analog, but then we mixed it on a new system called Radar at the time. And the Radar system sounds exactly like tape. And you know, we used all the boards and, you know, the analog boards and everything. So both of the records, with 24 of the tracks on the first 2 albums were done analog. And then even the Japanese versions were analog. So everything was pretty much done analog. Even when I did the Bumblefoot track, I was done analog. I gave it to my mixing guy who has an analog board, and he bounces it to analog tape after the mix is done. So it still has that analog feel to it.
That's very, very cool. Ron Bumblefoot, he's an incredible guitarist. I mean, geez.
Incredible. And a good singer.
Oh,
and
okay.
a good singer. Yeah. And he plays that double neck, one regular guitar and the other one is a slide guitar. You know, it's a fretless guitar.
I've seen him. He's incredible.
And it's really amazing. And he's the only one I know of that plays that.
Yeah, Sons of Apollo, he just kills it. He just kills it.
Yep, he does kill it.
And also your Appice Drum Wars. I mean, with Jim Crean on vocals, are you still going touring with that?
Well, unfortunately, we couldn't do a lot this year because my brother Vinnie's been touring all year with Last in Line, and when he gets done, I start touring. So
yeah,
I've had most of the 6 months that's just gone by. Almost, you know, we did a bunch of gigs, but not like Vinnie was every weekend he was playing with Last in Line, and then when he's done, he next week he goes to Europe, and then he after he finishes Europe with the Last in Line, he does his own little tour of Europe. He's back July 15th, so we have 2 gigs in July with Appice Brothers. And I told him yesterday, send me a schedule so I can see if we can book some stuff at the end of the year.
Okay.
But me and Jim, we've been working on some new songs. It's Warren Wyatt. He's the guy that originally put the original Guitar Zeus deal together from Japan, and he's working on a new deal. And me and him to start a little label, and we're going to do a new King Cobra. We'll do a new Appice Brothers, a Cactus record, and a new Guitar Zeus.
Jeez, so much stuff going on.
That's over the next couple of years. You know, it's not going to be like all at once. You know, I think the next one we've been recording a Catfish record. We have 10 tracks now, so that once we get that deal together, that'll be the next record. Then the record after that will probably be Appice Brothers, and then maybe King Cobra, and then the last one would be another Guitar Zeus, because we're still working this one.
Cool. Can we jump back into your past a little bit? Because I got
Sure.
so many friends who want me to ask you so many questions.
Right.
The first
Thank you.
the first single that I ever got, or actually my sister got, was "Do You Think I'm Sexy?"
Oh my God.
My sister had the single. I at the time I had no idea it was you who actually co-wrote it.
Yeah.
I was too young.
Right.
But
Yeah, sure.
tell me about the success of that and how it changed your life.
Well, the way Rod used to work, he would listen to a lot of stuff that's on the radio, and he'd say, "I want a song like this." So, "Do you think I'm sexy?" He said, "I want a song like "Miss You" by the Rolling Stones." So we all went back to our homes and came back, and I was a lucky guy. I went with a friend of mine, Dwayne Hitchings, who had a little studio in his house and played keyboard, and he made all the stuff that I wrote on my keyboard on a cassette. He made it sound better, and we gave him like a good demo, and Rod loved it. And it took a while. We tried different arrangements. There was more of a hard rock arrangement of it. But then Tom Dowd, the producer, kept having us change it. Even the version that was done, when we first did it, we had 3 guitars, bass, drums, and a keyboard. It sounded really massive and hard rock, and really, it didn't sound like a disco song, let's put it that way. It sounded more like what the Rolling Stones did,
Yeah.
So, but then he went and put an orchestra on it. He put David Foster, who was a session guy at the time, Tom Scott, and the solo. And before you know it, the 24-track we recorded on ended up being 48 tracks. And when you mix that down, it became smaller, as far as the band width and the balls. But then he mixed it, and you know what? It blew everybody's mind. It went to #1 everywhere.
How did you
And
sell?
I
How
was
many
like,
copies did it
I
sell?
freaked out. How many did it sell? It sold over 2 million here.
Yeah.
And sold the album sold over 10 million worldwide.
Yeah.
And sold about 5 million here. And the single probably did another 1 million or 2 worldwide. Because we got all kinds of gold singles and gold records from everywhere. And in Canada, the album went platinum 5 times.
My sister had a copy, I'm telling you.
Yeah. So, but, who the hell expected it to sell so much? It made so much money. And it did change my life because it made me more of a songwriter. Financially, it changed my life, because all the royalties all of a sudden from ASCAP and publishing royalties were humongous. And then I wrote Young Turks with Dwayne Hitchings again after that. So like in 1983, I was getting huge record royalties from both songs. And I was also a spokesperson for Mattel Symphonic Drums. So I must have had my biggest year that year. But I never really kept records of it because I've always had an accountant doing it, But I'm just figuring that must have been my biggest year of my career, 1983.
What about Paul Stanley, recording with him, on his solo album? Did you feel the tension of all the band members breaking away in the little corner, trying to come up with their best material? Did Paul ever sort of show you the sign of, man, I got to outdo all the other guys in Kiss?
No, they never, it wasn't like that really back then. They were all glad to be doing their own solo albums. I was signed to Coin Management as well, through Paul, and I met those guys in 1975 when I was filling in for Corky Lang and Mountain, and they were opening up for Kiss on the very first arena Kiss tour that they did, and that's when I met the guys, and basically me and Paul became friends, and Peter and everybody. And then when I moved out to L.A., they started coming out to L.A., and I started hanging out with Paul a bit, and I was playing with Rod, and Paul loved Rod all the time. So I used to have parties and go to Rod's parties and take Paul with me. And then finally I needed a new manager, and Paul recommended a Coin to me, and he fixed it up, for a meeting, and I ended up going with a Coin manager. So when the albums came out, Paul asked me if I'd play on the album. I said, yeah, I'd love to play on the album. I don't even know if I got paid for it, to tell you the truth. I think I just did it as a favor. I'm not sure. So I played on 7 songs, but I just come in from the Far East with Rod, so I was really jet lagged and messed up. And I didn't remember the songs I played on, and it ended up they only used one of my songs. But from what everybody tells me, that's like the best song on the album.
Yeah. Did you ever get the call for Kiss? Okay, so Peter Criss is
no.
falling on the wayside. No,
because they wanted brand new guys in Kiss at the time. So it was really like they ended up with Eric Carr, who was brand new. They didn't want anybody that had a name.
Yeah.
And then after that, they changed their mind a little bit. They got Eric Singer. Eric played with Lita Ford, and he had a little bit of a name, but not like my name. They never wanted me in the band because my name was too big.
Moving on to Ted Nugent.
Too bad, cause
yeah. Too bad.
Yeah. And after playing with Rod, we did an American Music Awards show, and we were playing Young Turks on that. And Ted was on the show too, and he came up. I know Ted since 1968, and Ted said, "Look, when you're done playing this wimpy rock, when you're ready to play a man's rock, give me a call." So I think it was like 9 months later is when me and Rod Stewart band split up, and I called Ted, and I went to his house, and we rehearsed, and we did an album. We did a big tour.
The Nuge. And
that was it. That was fast. The funny thing, when I got Ted to do Guitar Zeus, I had a video camera, and I got to find the videos for all this. I videoed Ingve, I videoed everyone. And I went to Ted in, where do you live then? Michigan, I guess he lived. And I went into the studio, and there he had the guitar on, got a pair of shorts on, and then he had a holster with a 38 or something in his on his back of his belt while he was playing guitar. I thought it was pretty funny.
What's he like as a person? I mean, he gets a bad rap in the press a lot, but what's he like? Is he really a nice guy?
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He's he's just he don't hold his feelings back. If he thinks you suck, he'll tell you, "I think you suck." If he doesn't like what's going on in politics, he'll let you know.
Yeah.
And and he's always a good talker. So he's been opening his mouth in politics, and that's why I think he's getting the bad rap.
Yeah. And then I guess you go on to the Ozzy years, which everyone's ever asked you about that, right? What went right, what went wrong?
Well, me.
For you.
Went wrong.
I guess it's the name, right? It's the name.
The deal was, when I didn't even ask to join Ozzy, they called me. I was in France doing I told you I worked for Sensonics, Mattel Sensonic. I was doing a convention in Cannes, France, and I had just gotten married not long before that, so I brought my new wife with me, who's an ex-wife now, by the way. And they called me. My manager said, Sharon Osbourne's looking for you. I said, why? I said, what did I do? And he said, I don't know. So they wouldn't tell me, so he gave me the number. I called them. They were in London. I called them, and they asked me if I wanted to join the band. And I said, well, it might be interesting. I know Ozzy for a long time. What happened to Tommy? And they said, they fired him. They recorded a new album. And what they wanted me to do was go into the studio with their producer, which was Tony Bongiovi, John's cousin, who I work with Vanilla Fudge, and try and fix the drum sound and help finish the album with Ozzy had to do vocals, and I would also get an associate producer credit. So I said, oh, okay, this all sounds good. So I went to London, and we talked, and I played with the band, and I knew Bob Daisley. I knew Jakey Lee from L.A., and was Ozzy and Don Airey. I didn't know. I just met Don Airey. So we played, and it was all good. And then I said, okay, I like to do it. So I hooked her up with my manager, and they put a contract together. In my contract, it said that I could have my own merchandise on the tour, which I did. And it goes on to say that I have my own PR person who will be doing press, promoting the tour and promoting these drum master classes that I do along the way. I told them we do that when I do America. They agreed to it. It was in the contract and everything. We went to Europe. Everything was good in Europe. Me and Sharon, I thought, were friends, and me and Ozzy were good friends. As a matter of fact, Ozzy and Sharon would get into fist fights together. And me, being Italian from New York, I would get in between and say, hey, come on, guys. You know? And then Bob Daisley said, don't get in the middle. I said, okay. They'd be slugging it out on each other at truck stops. It was crazy. And she was big, heavy, you know, then. She wasn't skinny like she ended up being, but she was really, really fat. And so pretty much we started doing the tour, and I started doing the master classes. And all my master classes were sold out. And I was giving money to UNICEF also for the master classes. So I was getting free press. And I was making, you know, like $1,500 a day extra on the tour, you know, doing these master classes. If I do 5 a week, you know, it was a lot of money, or 6 a week. And I'd end up giving the tour accountant my money, my cash to hold, because I didn't want to carry the cash. Well, anyway, Sharon didn't like that. Long story short, she started harassing me on the tour. So eventually she canned me off the tour and said, your name is too big. You need to start your own band. You know, Tommy Aldridge is taking over. I said, Sharon, we have a contract. She says, I guess I'll see you in court. And there's this real snotty face on, you know. So I took him to court, and, you know, I got what I would have got on the tour, but I wasn't in the band. That's not what I wanted, you know. I wanted to be in the band, stay in the band, get some great drum sounds on the next album, write some great songs for them, because, you know, I was a songwriter, too. I sang, I did background harmonies, and I sang on the tour. And you know, I had a good name, and I did a drum solo and always tore the audience up. And, you know, it's all positive stuff I wanted to do with them. You know, and my name was in the tour book and my picture and everything, and they continued using that for the rest of the tour. Motley Crue was the opening band. I was also writing for Circus Magazine. I had a column called Drum Beat. You know, so I was in Circus Magazine every issue. You know, so she just said your name was too big. So that's why I started King Cobra.
Did you end up
writing me off the tour?
Did you end up writing any material or helping in any of the
recordings? No, I never went into the studio. You know, I went into the studio to finish the album they did with Tommy Aldridge and help the drum sound using some of my techniques that I know, and helping Ozzy finish the vocals. And she actually left Ozzy in my care in New York City to do the vocals.
So you actually helped with the vocal melodies?
No, just putting down the vocals. They already had the melodies. Okay. Because Bob Daisley was the songwriter in the band with Jake, and he had most of the melodies together. And Ozzy knew them, but, you know, we didn't know them great. So you had to put some words were one by one. It was crazy. And then me and Ozzy got on the Concorde, you know, the supersonic jet, and we flew to England to do the Bark at the Moon video. So I did the Bark at the Moon video, and miming to Tommy Aldridge's drums, but I was in the video. Yeah. You know, so, you know, and I was looking forward to doing another record, but I never got to that point.
Did you tour Canada?
Did we do Canada? Yeah, I think we did.
Because I was at the Bark at the Moon show in Montreal, Canada, and I think it was you who was there.
Maybe. I might have done that. It was when I reached the Midwest is when she canned me. I did about 6 or 7 weeks. You know, I turned Ozzy onto White Castle hamburgers and all that.
But I'm just going back. How did you help the drum sound on the Bark at the Moon? You just kind of tweaked it? Just tweaked?
Yeah, we just between me and Tony, you know, I don't remember exactly, but, you know, we might have remiked, pushed them through speakers and remiked them, and, you know, stuff like that, and just messed around with them, using my ears and his ears, and help the drum sound. We couldn't help the timing. The timing was bad. That's why they called me, because the timing was bad. And the drum sound, they weren't crazy with the drum sound that Tommy had. But they took him back.
They took him back. They took everybody back. They took Bob back.
Yeah.
What was the creative atmosphere like? Do you remember, like between Bob and Jake and Ozzy?
Well, they weren't there at the studio. It was just me, Ozzy, and the producer, the engineer, and he was producing also. But the vibe on when we played live was great. Ozzy was really the weakest one in the band as far as a technical musician, and he was still drinking, and it was hard with Ozzy. I mean, like Motley Crue's kicking ass, and I'd get ready to go on stage, and we're standing on the side of the stage, and I go, "Oz, you ready?" He goes, "Oh, I'm bloody naked, mate." I said, "Well, come on, dude. Those guys just kicked ass. We got to get up there and kick ass." And,
I remember it was rad.
Yeah, but it was all right. I know Ozzy since 1970.
Yeah. So. I remember I asked Jake the same question I'm going to ask you. I was standing front row at the Diary of the Madman tour, and this little, this little guy comes out with a pillow and a pill, and he gave it to Ozzy every few songs. Do you know what that pill was?
I do not know what the pill was. Was that the guy that was in the armor?
It was a little guy.
Dressed in the armor?
Yeah. He was dressed in armor. He had a little pillow, and he brought him a pill every few songs. I have no idea what that pill was.
Or maybe it was a salt pill. I don't have a clue.
I have no idea. Anyways, the mystery.
What did Jake say?
He says he had no idea. But
I had no idea either.
And I'm telling you, to this day, it haunts me. It's because I was standing right there and I was watching it happen. So, anyways.
Right.
Maybe it was an Alka-Seltzer. I don't know. Okay.
No, maybe it could have been a salt pill. He did sweat a lot.
Yeah. Maybe it could have been a salt pill. Yes, absolutely. And he was sweat. He sweated a lot. I mean, he worked hard.
Hey everybody, David Ellison here. Just announcing the new Altitudes and Attitudes roast, the new coffee from Ellison Coffee to celebrate me and Frank Bellows' group, Altitudes and Attitude. Cool, tasty, delicious coffee since we are both coffee fiends. Click in the link in the description there and you'll be able to find the pre-order for that. And also, just to let you know that Ellison Coffee Company is also a proud sponsor of The Metal Voice.
Yeah.
Moving up to Hearing Aid. I mean, what are your memories about that?
Well, I was out with King Cobra.
Yes.
And when Wendy Dio asked me if I can do it, my brother did the track, and Wendy asked me if I can do it, or if the band could do it. I said, well, the band's on the road. We were on the East Coast. I said, but if you want, I'll fly in to do it because of Ronnie, because, we're friends. And I can join the choir thing. And if you notice in the video, I did the Cobra sign, because back in those days, that's when Dio started making that, the horn thing famous, and I thought, well, if Dio's got the horn thing, I can make the snake thing, that'd be interesting, obviously it never happened, but that was the reason I did that in the video. But it was a lot of fun, because everybody there were friends of ours, everybody was a friend. Yeah. And we all had a great time when the camera wasn't on, all kidding around, goofing off, and and we were in A&M studio. It was a big studio, so there's plenty of room for everybody to hang around and have a good time. And so it was a real good time, and we did some of that. We did a few gigs like that, where in LA, I remember we did one in Santa Monica Civic, where everybody got up on stage and sang the background, like we did in the video,
And I should have mentioned King Cobra, right? I mean, working with Spencer Proffer at the time, I mean, what was he like to work with? I mean, I know he gave Quiet Riot a hard time.
Well, funny thing goes, Spencer Proffer released, when I was leaving Rod, my solo album was coming out on Rod's label, but in America they didn't have a label for it. So my manager got it on Pasha, which was Spencer's label. Yeah. So at that point, was just before it came out, that's when I worked with Ted. So being a loyal kind of guy, I brought Ted to Pasha to record the studio. in that studio. So we recorded in the studio, and I didn't like the drum sound we got. It ended up on the record, but I didn't care for the drum sound. So I talked to Spencer. I said, look, why don't we revamp the drum sound in the studio and get the kind of drum sound we get like with Andy Johns at Cherokee, which is a big, a big drum sound that I'm used to getting, and like if you listen to Hot Legs or Dirty Weekend with Rod Stewart, you hear that big fat drum sound, like Led Zeppelin-ish kind of drum sound, which, that started out like on my first Vanilla Fudge song, You Keep Me Hanging On. Mm-hmm. And so he said, okay, so I revamped Wood. I put Wood in there. I got the second engineer to work with me about how to mic it and everything. We mic'd it. We come up with this really cool drum sound. Right? And I used it on my record with Rick Derringer called Derringer and Appice, which was before King Cobra. And also recording at the time was Quiet Riot. So they used that drum sound that I created there on the Quiet Riot record.
Very cool.
So when that came out and sold 5 million records, I used to bust Frankie's balls and say, man, you sold all those records using my drum sound I created there.
Crazy.
And so then when we started putting King Cobra together, I naturally went back to Spencer and said he had just sold, huge with Quiet Riot. I said, me and my manager said, why don't you produce this new band that Carmine's putting together? And we didn't have a name yet. And so with Spencer, my manager, myself, I did some demos. I did have Mark III, the singer, because I was going to do some solo stuff on the side of it when I play with Ozzy. And I just needed to find the other pieces. So we had some demos that I did with Earl Slick, and his wife played bass on it. And I put Mark III on those demos, and with those demos, we ended up getting the record deal through Capitol with Spencer. So it was a Pasha production. And, and Spencer, he just liked to take control. Even if he heard his song and he liked the song, he'd have to bring his guy in to change the lyrics and just use the chorus, stuff like that. And that way we'd have to sign publishing to his publishing company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that way it was a bit of a dick, but, me and Spencer were really close. I didn't have to sign to his publishing companies. I was already signed to Warner Brothers, so, but he did the first record. He was well involved in the first record. And then the second record, Capitol Records, said they needed more singles. So we did one side of singles and one side of the rock, heavy rock like we normally do. And then I produced that with my buddy Dwayne Hitchens, the guy that co-wrote those songs with me with Rod. He was a good producer too. So, and then Spencer was like more of the executive producer on that. But Capitol Records never did their job. They never got the records going. And we sold 120,000 records, but we're in the hole for $500,000 with them.
Jeez.
The videos and everything, And now I'm about to get all those records. I'm about to get those records back. And Capitol Records just offered to give any money owed to them and stop paying royalties. I said, no, I'm going to get it back, and then I'll sell it back to them.
So, of course, there's a new King Cobra album in the works eventually, right, in the near future?
Yeah, but we have a newer King Cobra record that just came out last September.
Yes.
It's on Metalville, has it on on what do you call it, physical, and I have it on digital called King Cobra Live at Sweden Rock, which we got together and we did a bunch of shows, and it's really great. Yeah. The band was great. The audiences in Europe were killing. They packed everywhere, and Sweden Rock, they loved it. They really loved it.
Let's move on to Blue Murder. Let's just touch upon that. John Sykes. That first album, people love it to this day. People love that album.
I know.
What went right and what went wrong in this sort of like that Blue Murder period?
Well, I think what went right was that we had the three of us, John, me, and Tony, which were magic. It's the first time we ever played together. It was magic. And John had some great songs. He's a great songwriter. and we had John Kolodner was behind it, and we had Bob Rock. This was his first production. Before that, he was an engineer for everybody. So this was Bob's first production. So, you know, I went in search of Blue Murder because when I heard Tony and John were playing together, I loved Tony in the Firm, and I loved John in Whitesnake on Slide It In and all that stuff, and on the '87 album. And I had played with Pink Floyd at the time.
Yeah.
Which later, the Whitesnake album, Pink Floyd album that I was on was side by side on the charts. And me and John were playing together. So we were like, used to kid around and go, hey, we're both on the charts. Look, I'm number 10. What are you? I'm number 8, you know, that kind of thing. And so we got together, and the day we were going up to Vancouver, Canada, to record, we had Tony Martin as a singer. He bowed out, right? Now, I had gone to England to get into Blue Murder when I heard that Cozy Powell was out. I just forgot to mention that. Mm-hmm. So I said, I want to play with this band, and I'm going to go to England. Because my brother Vinnie was going to England with Dio. That they were playing in the Odeon 4 nights. I said, well, I don't know how to get a hold of John Sykes or whoever's managing this, but somebody at that gig is going to know how, and I'm going to find out. And I did find out from the melody maker writer, Chris Wells. He gave me a number to call. I drove up there. Me, John, and Tony played, and that was it. That was it. So then when the singer bowed out to go to Vancouver, you know, we said, we called Bob and said, what do you want to do? He goes, well, just come. Let's cut all the tracks. We have the songs, and we'll figure it out as we go. So we went and cut all the tracks, and then we left. We went down to L.A., and we tried all these singers. Everybody we tried out. Derek St. Holmes, David Glenn Isley, and, you know, just everybody that was available. Mark Free even, you know, everyone that was available. We tried. John didn't like anybody. So finally we decided, look, John, you got the record deal on your voice. Why don't you sing? We'll be like the Cream. You sing, me and Tony do backgrounds. We'll be a trio. We'll have a keyboard player that's been with us. And so we always just called the trio with depth. And he said, okay. So we went back up to Vancouver, and John did all the vocals.
Great singer.
They did all the background vocals, and they mixed it, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But then when it came out, we had the wrong management team. We had a guy that worked at Capitol that didn't work there anymore. We had John's stepdad, and we had a lawyer, you know. So they didn't do the right thing, you know. They didn't take control of John and the band, you know. Like we did Valley of the Kings. We spent $150,000 on that video, and we, as the band, wanted to see it on MTV. You know, but Kolodner's plan was to introduce the band with that, and then do the second video, Jelly Roll, and then hit them hard with that. You know, but John had spearheading the band, going, no, we want to see it now on MTV. We just spent all that money. We want to see it. So we had no manager to say, no, that's the wrong thing to do, guys. We're going to do this way. So we had no control. And then John fired the whole management team. I remember we were on the road with Bon Jovi. We got airplay. You know, we were #1 airplay on rock radio and phones and everything else. And we had no manager. So we had no manager coordinating anything. So we ended up doing like 10 shows with Bon Jovi. And then because no manager happened, that's my thoughts. And John thinks that Geffen blew it because you know, Geffen had Whitesnake, and Coverdale told him not to make that record happen. I don't think that happened. They put too much money into it, you know.
Yeah.
So I think because we didn't have the right management, you know, in a rock band back in those days, you had to have everything. You have the record company, the agent, the band, the management, the PR. Everything had to be working together. Spearhead, you know, a successful band. And I think the fact that we didn't have the right management, I think that's why it didn't happen.
Yeah, I agree. Any plans to work with John Sykes in the future?
You know, we tried so many times. I saw John at the NAMM show in January, and him and Tony are going to go out as John Sykes band and play historical songs of John and Whitesnake and his new album. I didn't really want to do that. He wanted to do it with Blue Murder. He said he'd call it John Sykes and Blue Murder. I said, it isn't John Sykes and Blue Murder. It's Blue Murder. People want to see Blue Murder. They didn't call it Eric Clapton and the Cream when they reunited. Yeah. They called it the Cream. I said, this is Blue Murder. He said, well, I want to do this and that. I said, that's fine. I don't really know if I want to do that. But if you want to do that, go do your own thing and do it. So that's what he's supposedly doing. Supposedly he got signed with his label, some label in Australia signed his record. And I saw the record company guy there, and he said, yeah, the stuff will be out by summertime, and he'll be touring and all that. So I talked to Tony Franklin. Tony Franklin is going out with Jason Bonham for a month on this Peter Frampton farewell tour. So I said, what's going on with John? He goes, well, nothing yet. So, this has been, another 5 or 6 months. But I did say to John, look, go do this thing, get it out of your system, and when you're ready, let's do a Blue Murder tour of America and do some of the festivals here. And because, we played in Japan a bunch of times, but we never really played here, So he said, all right, well, let's talk when I'm done with this. I said, okay, But before that, I tried to get Blue Murder together from 2000 to 2012. You remember when he was going to do the band with Mike Portnoy, and which ended up being Winery Dogs? Yeah. Well, I did something with Mike, and Mike said to me, how do you get John Sykes out of the house? I said, I don't know, dude. I tried for 12 years. I'm done. I said, your problem now. And he didn't get him out either. So,
well, maybe he'll get out this time. All right, so we've come full circle now.
And it's such a shame, because he's such a great talent,
Yeah, I saw him at the Hall of Heavy Metal History. I saw you there. Everybody was there, so it was really cool.
Oh yeah, that's why I talked to him over there.
Yeah. So
I was very surprised he came out and got that award for Bob Daisley.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was great. And
I'm actually a little pissed off that Bob didn't ask me to get the award, because I've been in touch with Bob, since the Ozzy days all the time. So now that he lives in Australia, I talk to him a few times a year, and John, did something for him, and anyway, it's okay. I'm not really mad or nothing, but I was just, disappointed. I thought he would have his good buddy get his award for him, But it's cool.
It's all good, man.
But I love Bob. Bob's on he's the only other bass player on Guitar Zeus.
So yeah, coming full circle, we got to pause now. We got so much more to talk about it next time we have an interview. But going back to Guitar Zeus, Bob Daisley's there, Brian May, Slash, Neil Sean, Yngwie Malmsteen, like you mentioned, Bruce Kulick, Ron Bubblefoot, Paul Gilbert, Nick Mars, Richie Sambora, Zach Wild, Bob Daisley, Dweezil Zappa, Vivian Campbell, Leslie West, Warren DeMartini, Steve Morse. Oh my God, it goes on forever. Ted Nugent, Doug Pinnick.
Yeah. The next thing's got to be Guitar Zeus, the book.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So thanks so much and again, of course, you're on tour with your brother, or hopefully we'll get more dates. I know Jim Crean.
And guess what?
What?
That Vinnie Vincent gig was canceled.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? We knew it, right? Did we
called
say it last time?
That's right. Vinnie Vincent canceled.
Yeah, and and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do another interview with you to let people know that we didn't cancel that last gig.
That's right.
He did.
That's right.
And and he kept saying no, it's a promoter, and the promoter didn't cancel it, and the promoter's been so sick, he's still sick, and he hasn't had a chance to to go and work the deal out with Vinny, because he paid him some money for the gig,
Incredible.
And it's really amazing, And I think now he's totally ruined his career. I mean, if there was any hint of a career, if he did this gig, now it's done. I think it's done. There's nothing on his website. There's no signing gigs. There's no anything. I think people are afraid to book him, And that's what happens when you do stuff like this,
And Speed Jam was supposed to be, or Speed Ball, whatever he called it, it was supposed to be something like 30 people. It was And even
60 people,
that.
60 people at $300 a pop.
Insane.
I mean, come on. And not to hear any songs, that was the idea. That's what he talked to me about that. I said, Vinny, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go up on a stage. I said, well, what did you plan to start like one of your songs or a Kiss song and then just jam on it? He goes, no, I'll just start a riff and you guys just join in and follow me. I said, dude, I don't want to do that in front of an audience, without any skeleton of a song. I mean, I've jammed with most of my bands, Cactus and Jeff Beck and, even Rod Stewart, and but they were inside a song. I never went on a stage and said, okay, we're going to play a 45-minute or an hour, 15-minute show. I'm going to start a riff. Here we go. Especially people coming to hear songs. They're not coming to hear jamming. Not even rehearsal.
Is he mentally well?
Jamming.
And I mean this in the
I don't
nicest.
know. Well, I mean, the guy was missing for 30 years, so who knows? And he had bad luck. I mean, his wife was murdered. He's got 2 daughters. I don't even know if he's seen them. When I knew him back in the 1979, 80 when he played with me, he had some ego problems, and he never lived up to his word in business. That's what happened with Kiss. That happened with me, and it's happening again. So I don't know what his problem is, but all I know is back when I played with him and we played with Kiss, he was a fantastic guitar player, really fantastic talent, good songwriter, good singer. He sang lead in some of the songs that we did, and with Carmine and the Rockers. I think I'm going to put some of those songs up on YouTube just for the hell of it.
Yeah, please send me a link.
Just so people can hear some of it, because they're really good stuff. Even though he didn't want it ever released, but
does it matter?
He's been. I'm not putting it up for sale, so I'm just putting it up for creativity. I own the tapes.
So are they jams?
I'm not selling them.
Are they?
No,
like
they're songs. They're songs.
Finished.
There's one song called "Tears," which was the original version of the song that he gave to John Waite. Right? And it was a little different. Yeah, a different arrangement, and it was different, totally different. So.
How many songs do you have with Vinnie on them?
We have 8 or 9 songs.
It's like an album.
It is an album. We were going. One of the things we wanted to do if we did that gig, we wanted to release like 50 vinyls, and like 50 vinyls, and sell them and autograph them at the gig,
Why didn't you ever
Vinnie
release
said,
the
"No
songs?
way, I don't want those out. No way, I don't want those out. No way."
So he just stopped them. In other words, he just didn't like them.
So he stopped it. So we didn't do it. So it's like, okay, so we won't do it.
How much money did you spend recording?
I said, Vinny, I said we should do it and call it like Before the Metal, because you weren't metal then. I wasn't really metal then. There wasn't even the word metal around in 1979. It was just hard rock, and there was I wrote a theme song for a TV show called Hollywood Heartbeat that was on in 1979. It's sort of like what MTV ended up being, and Vinnie added a melody to it. I wrote pretty much the heavy riff on the guitar, and it had a time signature, and it was really cool. And Vinnie wrote the what do you call it? The melody. And he wrote some chord changes for the chorus, and it's really good. And he plays a killer solo on it. And he said, "I didn't play that solo." I said, "Sure you did. What are you talking about? Nobody else was in the band,
So what would you define the musical stylings of it?
It was sort of like a heavy, cheap Trick and kind of like I don't know, Cactus. Kind of,
Hard rock and blues.
A hard rock band, ZZ Top-ish, Cactus, blues rock, but a little heavier than that, but not. And the 2 songs, one called Tonight, one called Pretending, were like heavy Beatles, really great Beatles songs that Vinnie wrote. Then he had another song that we used to do live. I even have a full cassette a live show that sounds great of the band.
Release it. Put it out there. Or just put one song out there.
Yeah, I can put it up on YouTube or something, you know.
All right, give me a heads up before you put it up.
I will. Okay, man.
All right, man.
Thanks so much, man. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Say farewell to the future. Get ready for